this is Russ Andersson. Once you've matched moved to 360 VR scene in SynthEyes, there are a number of methods to determine which way is up, i.e. where the horizon line should be in the finished product. Ultimately, it's an artistic decision. This tutorial is one of several that looks at different methods on how you might do that. In this particular tutorial, we're going to be using some trackers on level ground to align the horizon. So we're going to start with our already solved scene that we've used in this series, though we've actually done a little work on it initially to save time. So for this method, we need to have a piece of level ground, and there's really not much in this scene. There is one little patch around here, though, and we actually use that to put a building in some of our other tutorials. If you look, you'll see that there are already 2 trackers there. We need to have 3. Those trackers may already exist. Of course, that makes your life that much the easier. If they don't exist, you can go and create them using supervised tracking techniques or some of the techniques for converting and creating additional automatic trackers using the features panel. Here we're going to use supervised tracking. And for more information on this in general, see our tutorial that is the Supervised Tracking Masterclass. To do that, we're going to scrub through this shot, and you'll notice playing in reverse, at this point the flat piece of ground just pops out from behind the ultralight there. Alternatively, it's just about to go behind it. But we're going to start at this point here and track in reverse towards the beginning of the shot. So to do that, we're going to jump over to the tracking panel. We'll zoom in on that area a little bit. We're going to go to create tracker mode, and actually I'm going to select one of those existing trackers just to pick up its existing information for when I create this new one. So we're going to use some point, it's maybe around here, and the parameters that are being used create a new key every 12 frames to adapt to changes in the imagery. It uses a bidirectional blend over the 12 frames also. You'll see at the very end we're going to go and do a second pass so it generates a smoother tracking path. And we're also going to go and tell SynthEyes to stop every time it generates a key. In other words, every 12 frames. One other thing we're going to do here is we're going to change the tracking direction because we're going to track towards the beginning of the shot. So with those preliminaries, we're just going to start hitting play. We're going to watch in this mini tracker view to make sure that it's staying on track, and we'll just do a little tweaking of it to keep it on path if we need to. And notice over here we can also monitor it. It's kind of drifting off to the side, so I'm going to hit the 5 key, which turns on something called pan to follow. That's just going to keep that centered up in the viewport also. It gives it a bit broader perspective, for us to watch it there also. So we're just going to keep on working our way through. At some point, it starts fading out into the distance a little bit there, and it becomes less clear exactly where the point that we're tracking actually is. So we can actually be adding more information that isn't really accurate. So at some point we're just going to go turn off the tracker. And now we'll go back. We can scrub through it. Looked like there may have been a frame where it jumped off course a little bit. There's some sort of artifact in the imagery there. And similarly there. We're just going to go back to the beginning now and let it do its bidirectional blending. Again, we'll go and monitor it. There's that odd frame. So now we'll declare victory on that one, and we'll lock it up. And if we needed to create all three, and really we did, I just had done this process previously to save some time here, and we could work through and do that process for as many trackers as we needed to do. But now we do have our three trackers on this flat piece of ground, and those are going to let us set up a coordinate system, which is defining where the ground plane is in the shot, and really where everything needs to fall with respect to that particular ground plane. So we're going to go to the coordinates panel, and here you see the entire shot. It's all over the place there. And I'm going to hit this Start 3 button, which lets us click on 3 different trackers to set up the coordinate system. So the first one is going to be for the origin. The second one is going to be along the x-axis. And if you look over here, it's setting up the lock data here, and this 20 is just an arbitrary value. And if we had some ground measurements, we could actually use this value or set up some other things that would allow us to control the scaling of the entire scene to match up with, some real ground truth measurements. And now we're ready to click on the third tracker, which just is somewhere on the plane. And once we do that, we're ready to have a new cycle of calculations fire up, where it's going and applying this ground plane setup that we just did, and it's also computed exactly where those 3 trackers are. So we now have a new alignment for where everything goes in the scene, where the camera went. Those trackers that we clicked on are all on the ground plane, and everything else is accordingly fans out from that. So we have used those 3 trackers to set up the alignment of the overall shot, and we're just about ready to do the stabilize from camera path. But I'll point out that if we wanted to, we do have the option to spin the whole scene around so that we control the initial viewing direction at the beginning of the movie. It would be typical to have the movie start out looking in some particular direction, either back at the ultralight or dead straight ahead, just so the viewer is oriented in some direction where you want them to be looking at the beginning of the movie. If we wanted to do that, we could just go over to our 3D panel, and spin the entire scene around in the top view to do that alignment. And as long as we don't change it in these other views, we'll be fine. We won't be affecting the ground plane setup that we just did previously. So once we have this ready to go, we can run our stabilize from camera path script. We can go over to the summary panel where we've got this big view. We'll change the playback direction to the normal one and start playing our shot. So here's our stabilized version of the shot, and you can debate whether this horizon line here is really where you want it to be or not, but it is exactly what corresponds to what you get from those 3 points. This is a decisive quantitative method. It's only going to be as good as these 3 particular points are. If they're not actually level, you're going to get something else rather than perfectly gravitationally level. But in all cases, you're going to get a stable shot. So normally you would like to have trackers that are spread out more through the shot so that you have better overall determination of which way is up. The closer the trackers are to one another, the less precise it can fundamentally be. Here we just had that one little tiny piece of ground, so that's what we have to work with. Normally you should use things that are spread out wider in the shot. Thanks for watching.